where it all began more than 600 years ago. Today
What's
I'm
up,
here with
guys?
Sam
It's
Torrance,
Techno Viking
who I believe
23
was not
coming
around
to you
back then, but
today
who
with
knows
another
the
episode of
experience as
my
well as
old
anyone who's ever lived
school
here.
Gaming
So,
Friday.
sounds
And
great,
today
Sam.
we're going to be playing some Tiger Woods PGA Tour 2009. Now, a lot of people are probably groaning and like, why are you playing a golf game? But it's kind of interesting. I am actually a pretty avid golfer, and this week is actually the British Open. So I thought we would play a little bit of golf and just see if we can enjoy it here a little bit, see how well we can do. But anyways, it's an interesting game series that came out a while ago. Tiger Woods and his golf games that he had. Now, obviously, Tiger had some problems, some social issues, um, and we're not going to get into that because this is not a social commentary. This is more to just play the game and have a little bit of fun. And I want to maybe get into a little bit of commentary on some of the reasons I like these games and just my overall opinion on them and things like that. But whether you like Tiger Woods or you hate Tiger Woods, it's really hard to
This
argue
for birdie.
with the influence he had on the game of golf, and even to an extent the EA Sports games that he did. Tiger had there's a lot of good stuff he did for the game of golf, and I'm actually going to be talking about that a little bit here. But I do personally myself go a long way back with the game of golf. I've played golf since I was about 7 years old. I played in high school. I played in
It
college.
rolls in the par
It's a
5.
game that is really enjoying. It can be very frustrating though at the same time. It's one of those weird games where the better you get at it, the more frustrated you get because the harder it gets. It's just really a very odd game sometimes, but it's also a very fun game. It teaches you a lot of good life lessons and other things, and it's something I've really enjoyed. And like this week, like I said, it's the British Open. It's a major in golf, so those are usually pretty special weeks for me. I used to watch the majors a lot with my dad when I was growing up, so a lot of good times. Obviously, the U.S. Open is always on Father's Day, so that was always a special moment for us. Since we played golf, we could go out and play golf in the afternoon and come back and watch the U.S. Open together. So a lot of good memories with golf, and like I said, I started back when I was about 7 years old. Played in high school and college. I actually was going to be. My dream was to be a golf pro a long time ago, and I can tell you that's not exactly a great dream to have if you want to be financially successful. In terms of golf skill, I got pretty good at one time. I was down to about a 2 handicap, which if you guys don't know how the handicap system works in golf, it's basically whatever your handicap number is your average, about how many shots you shoot over par. So my average was I was a 2 at that point. I was, my average score was about 2 over par. I got to be pretty good at the game uh, for a while, and like I said, I did play in college. I wasn't good enough to play professionally, not even close. Those guys, I've watched a lot of guys in the minor tours. I've been to several PGA tournaments. Those guys are unbelievably good. It's just not even funny how good those guys are at the game. But I did have the opportunity to maybe get into like teaching profession or being like a head professional at a country club or a golf course somewhere, and that was something that appealed to me. I grew up in the industry. I worked in the golf industry for a long time. I caddied. I worked at a golf course in high school and in the summertime in college, as a bag boy, cleaning member clubs, which was nice because you got free golf and some other nice benefits for that. But I really enjoyed working in the industry. I got a lot of contacts early on, and I actually did
This
work
is the remaining
after
par
right after I got
3.
out of college. I moved to Florida. It was kind of a controversial decision for me. My parents obviously wanted me to get a real job. I had, gone to school for other things, but I was bound and determined I was going to be a golf pro. So I moved to Florida, Jacksonville, Florida, actually. And I had a friend of mine who lived down there. He let me crash with him for a couple weeks while I looked for a job, and he was also working in the golf industry at the time. His parents had been a lot more supportive of him growing up with it, and he had gotten to go to like golf school and get his certifications and was doing all kinds of things. But through some contacts I had and some references I had from growing up in the golf industry, I actually was able to get a job working at the TPC Sawgrass, which some of you guys may have heard of it. Some of you may not have, but the Tpc Sawgrass is really one of the most prestigious golf courses probably in the world. When people talk about golf courses throughout the world, it probably comes up in the top 10, maybe even the top 5. It's most renowned for the Players' Championship, which is a big PGA event they play there, and its iconic 17th hole, which has the island green par 3. but was able to get a job working there, and it's also a TPC course, which that means there's a lot of PGA guys who are actually members that play out there. So I used to see Jim Furyk all the time, Vijay Singh, and a couple other professionals who would come out there and hit golf balls in practice, and obviously got to play the course a few times, which is also pretty cool. Now, unfortunately, I was not making very much money. That was the big problem with getting an entry-level position anywhere in the golf industry, is you're not going to make a lot of money, and especially even when you become like an assistant professional, it's still going to be hard for you to make quite a bit of money. You don't really make the big bucks until you become like a teaching pro, or you become a head pro at a halfway decent country club or a nice course. And the other problem was, at the same time, obviously I had bills, I had car payment, I had rent, I had other stuff that I had to do, and it just wasn't working out very well. And the other thing that happens is, before you can kind of move up in those ranks to become a professional, in a sense, is you have to go to golf school. They have certifications, they have licenses, there's all kind of things that you have to do in order to take those steps. Now, the unfortunate reality a lot of times in America is, they say there's the American dream. You can pursue your dream, your goals, whatever you want. But a lot of the times it does boil down to how financially well off you are. And unfortunately, right out of college, trying to do this job, not having much money at all and not making much money at all, it's kind of hard for me at that time period to pay the fees to go to these schools. You had to buy the textbooks, you had to buy all the different things. In some cases, it was upwards of $10,000 to go take these classes and do these other things. So for me, it just wasn't very realistic. And I stuck it out for a couple months, and I did what I could. But it was just very clear in the end that it wasn't going to work out. So I ended up having to move. I had to move back I moved actually to Atlanta, Georgia at that point, and got a job in more of the corporate environment, using my degree a little bit, and I did that for quite a while before I moved back up north to Pennsylvania and got into the energy industry, which is what I'm doing now, after I spent several years working in corporate America, which was not very enjoyable. So that's kind of my story with golf. It's a game I still play quite a bit, not as much as I used to. I'm not anywhere nearly as good as I used to be. And that's the one thing with golf, is if you don't play a lot, it's very hard to maintain a really good game. Tee to green, I'm still pretty good. It's just your short game and your touch and your putting and things like that. It's very hard to maintain those things when you're not playing a lot. And now I'm in my 30s. It's much tougher to get out and play a lot during the week in the summertime, especially where I live. The weather is not always the greatest. It gets cold here for about 6 months out of the year, and it's been raining a lot this year. But the nice thing is, the industry I work in now, a lot of the times, there is a lot of activity in my business now that revolves around golf. A lot of the times when people want to have a meeting or something like that, they'll just say, oh, hey, let's go out Friday and play 18 holes of golf, and you'll kind of schmooze with people, and that's how you make contacts, and also basically that's how they have their meetings. You go out on the golf course, play 18 holes, everybody will have a little chit chat and just have some fun with it. So it's still a game I do play quite a bit, trying to get in and play a little bit more. I've been practicing a lot lately, just to maintain my abilities in the game. But one of the fortunate things for me as I was growing up playing golf is Tiger Woods kind of came along, and this is one of the great things about the time I grew up, is I'm kind of, the generation I grew up in kind of straddled a transitional period for a lot of sports, whether it was the NBA or golf or anything. I got to see a lot of the old greats. I got to watch Jack Nicklaus play. I got to see a lot of those guys. I've actually met quite a few of those guys. I actually hit balls in a driving range next to Sam Snead, who is one of the all-time greats. The guy is absolutely amazing. He's obviously a little bit older now, and he doesn't play that much golf anymore. At the time that I met him, he actually was legally blind pretty much in both eyes. But he could still hit the golf ball, and the minute he hit that ball with his club, he would tell you exactly where it was going to go, and you could watch it. It was just incredible to see the ability, even in his older age, that he still had. And then, of course, when I was actually coming up through high school, that's about the time that Tiger Woods was coming onto the scene. And so it was a very interesting time, because Tiger brought a lot of energy. He brought a lot of fun to the game of golf. And the EA games are no exception to that. He made golf games a lot. This is a really great game. This is the 2009 Tiger Woods. The Tiger Woods games that I enjoyed a lot more than anything else were the ones that came out, I think it was like 2005, 2006, when they were on the original Xbox. Those games were an absolute blast. And what we used to do is it was kind of like the party game thing where a lot of we would get together, a lot of our friends, and everybody would have their own created golfer, and you'd sit there and you'd play golf with it and talk a bunch of trash, and just everybody would have a lot of fun. And that's the cool thing is that there really weren't that many big golf games in video games and in the industry. A lot of them were on the PC. I used to play them a lot when I was growing up. There were some different PC games. I remember there was Lynx. There's Lynx 386 Pro. All kinds of different, in those games, it was kind of funny. They were actually really hard. It's like I remember playing some of those games, and I would play worse on the game than I would in real life, and they used to just drive me insane. But thankfully, EA, they had the PGA Tour games for a while too before Tiger came along. But then thankfully, when Tiger came along, they decided to make things a lot more fun. And this was the era with EA Sports back in the day when the games used to be a lot of fun. Madden was great, Tiger Woods was great, the NHL games were awesome, the NBA Live games were a lot of fun. And this is before EA games became these huge microtransaction-filled money pits, and that's basically they've ruined quite a few of their sports franchises by just basically turning them into, like I said, there's a lot of microtransactions now that ruin a lot of these games. FIFA especially has got a ton of that stuff, a lot of stuff going on with that. But I know people still love FIFA's a very popular game. People still like FIFA quite a bit. Obviously, Tiger Woods is no longer doing the EA games after some of those social things I talked about earlier, which again I'm not going to get into. That's not what this video is for. Now they're coming out next year or this year later, I believe they're going to be doing another. They're getting back into the PGA series, and this time they're going to have Rory McIlroy sort of front running the game, which I really think when they transitioned away from Tiger, they should have just called it, PGA Tour or golf or something. I don't think they needed to associate another player because there just isn't a player right now. Jordan Spieth maybe notwithstanding, there's not really a player like Tiger Woods right now. And I don't know if there ever will be again. Like I said, one of the nice things about growing up is I got to see Jack Nicklaus play, and I got to see Tiger Woods play through his prime. And I think they're both pretty close. I still give a little edge to Nicklaus because he's got the obviously he's won more majors. He's got 18 and Tiger's 14. And I still think if you brought Jack up into today's game with today's technology, I think he would just dominate like he did back in the day. I also think Jack had a little bit better competition when he was playing. The guys he was going up against, Lee Trevino and Greg Norman and Arnold Palmer and Tom Watson, and you could just go on a list of all the great golfers that Jack Nicklaus came up at the same time. Gary Player, as he was coming up during that time playing, and you can go back and look at Tiger's rise in his career. He didn't really have too many rivals. There were Ernie Els here and there, but he was kind of in the twilight of his career. Phil Mickelson, everybody wants to say, but pretty much any time Tiger and Phil squared off in any kind of major or meaningful tournament, Phil kind of just faded away and kind of crapped his pants. So Tiger never really had that tough a competition. So that's why I still give Nicklaus the nod in that argument. But I'm not even going to deny that Tiger Woods was just probably one of the most amazing golfers of all time. He's definitely up there in the top 2 or 3. And an argument can obviously be made for him being the best of all time. That's definitely a case that can be made for him. So it was really kind of nice to watch him as I was growing up, getting to see him play at the same time when I was kind of getting into the game and getting excited about it. And that's really one of the things that Tiger Woods did for golf. And the thing I always say when people argue about Tiger Woods and a lot of people talk bad about him, a lot of people still support him, but you just can't deny what he's done for the game of golf. Golf used to be a very kind of elitist sport, and I saw a lot of that as I was growing up. One of those sports where if you were not in a country club, you just really, your option was joining a really expensive country club with a bunch of elite people, or you could go out to some goat pasture public course where they literally use goats to cut the grass in the fairway, and it wasn't maintained very well. And if you were not a super wealthy elitist type person, it was very difficult to get into golf. It's very difficult to play golf and get good equipment. One of the things I tell a lot of people now when I was growing up is if you go into a Dick's Sporting Goods now, you can buy golf clubs, decent golf clubs, good quality golf clubs, golf balls, all that stuff, and not have to pay a really premium price. But back when I was growing up, if you wanted to buy a nice set of golf clubs, you basically had to go to a pro shop and buy a $700 or $800 set of Titleist irons or one of the other big name brands. That's all that was available. But you look at now, you go into a golf shop, you can basically just find all kinds of good items and good golf equipment for very reasonable prices. My last set of golf clubs I bought is a very decent set of clubs, and I only paid about $200 for them. It's very nice now. There's a lot of good quality equipment that's at a much lower price point. And that is a direct result of what Tiger Woods did to the game, because what Tiger Woods did was he made golf very exciting. Golf was kind of an old man sport. A bunch of these guys out on PGA Tour just walking around out of shape, making all this money. And then along comes Tiger Woods with his fist pumps and his excitement and his huge drives and his amazing shots. When he first came on tour, he was just incredible. And he when he won tournaments, when he won big, he just absolutely demolished everybody else. I mean, I still remember several majors he played in where it was like, there's Tiger Woods, and it's like nobody else came to play that week. He just completely smashed everyone. And he made golf exciting. He made it fun to watch. He made it a lot of fun for younger players, and younger people started to take an interest in it because when Tiger came up, obviously he was a very good amateur, and that's kind of when his legend started. And then when he came on the tour, he was at the time one of their younger superstars, and he was just kind of taking names and just kicking everybody's butt. And that brought in a big inflow of younger players into the game. It garnered a lot of attention for the game. You'll notice that the purses started to increase around the time Tiger Woods became very good. PGA was making a lot more money. The TV ratings were going through the roof. And Tiger was the staple of the PGA Tour. He was kind of the golden boy and their moneymaker. And it's really interesting to be a part of that and seeing that happen. And as he did a lot of work with the First Tee and other charitable organizations, obviously he's got his own charity, but he made golf more accessible to a lot of younger players and just people in general. All of a sudden, the people who couldn't afford to play golf, who maybe were interested in it, were able to actually afford the clubs and afford the bag and the golf balls and all the other accessories you have to buy. That's one of the things about golf is if you want to get into golf, you've got to buy all this gear. You got to get clubs, you got to get balls, tees, golf shoes, hats, gloves. I mean, there's a lot of stuff you have to go and purchase for golf. So he had a very big transitional change on the overall game of golf, and he's really opened it up to what it is today, even though he's not nearly as good now. In fact, he's a shadow of his former self in terms of his ability. But you see all these young kids coming up on the tour now. Rory McIlroy grew up sort of idolizing Tiger Woods. You see Jordan Spieth now, Dustin Johnson. There's all these really good young players who are coming out, Ricky Fowler. And even if they weren't, directly, if Tiger's not their role model or anything, they were directly affected by what he did for the game. He opened up the game. He brought in kind of the fitness era of golf. Now a lot of these new young golfers you see playing, they're just really buff. They're really in good shape. Before, golf used to be kind of the old out of shape man's game, and now you see a lot of these guys coming up. They're very physically fit. Golf has become a good sport for the younger players. So that's a direct result, pretty much from what Tiger Woods was able to do in terms of his influence. So it was very cool to kind of be a part of that. But I guess, I'm talking a little bit too much about real life golf, but we are playing a golf game. But if you go into the golf games, he did the same thing for them. He made EA Sports, Tiger Woods, they were some of their better selling titles actually within the sports category when he was doing these games, when his name was on them. And they were usually the same every year for the most part, but they did find ways to add new features in every year that were pretty cool and pretty innovative. And one of the things, like I said, it's like with real golf, he made the game fun. I mean, this game, like I mentioned some of those other golf games I've played before, where the game is like really difficult and it's harder than playing a real round of golf. Well, you could do that on Tiger Woods if you want to put the difficulty all the way to the very top. But for the most part, it's just a fun game that people found very enjoyable. You can just smash like 400-yard drives and do all this other crazy stuff and get hole-in-ones on par fives, and there's just all kinds of great things there that you could do with this game that made it exciting, made golf fun, all kinds of just a lot of fun memories had with the Tiger Woods games. And I know people who didn't even play golf who played these Tiger Woods games and really enjoyed them. And of course, there was a lot of cool stuff you could do there. Some of the original Tiger Woods games that first came out, you could taunt the other people. They had taunts you could use when they were trying to putt or trying to hit shots. They threw in a lot of real high energy music to the game. You could play soundtrack while you were playing the game, which made it even more kind of interesting because you had this high energy music playing in the background while you're playing it. They put in all kinds of different game modes. There was like combat golf, and they had game modes where you would like hit a shot and run up to it. And you had to play as fast as you possibly could, so you couldn't really set up to it. And then they had all kinds of different game modes you can play with your friends where you can hit alternate shot. You can trade off. You could play online, which was a big thing at the time. You could have, your buddy could, he could live all the way across the country, and you could jump on and play around 18 holes with him. Which was pretty cool. And they've done some really, as the game kind of progressed, they made it a little more in-depth features. Like one was one of the things I enjoyed about the NHL games they had like the My Pro version where you created your own character. Like in this case, obviously I've created this guy with this crazy haircut. Now, if I wanted to, I could, but they've actually shut the servers down for this game. Obviously, this is 2009. But if I wanted to, back when this game was out, I could actually take this guy and play online against other people and enter him in tournaments, and they would pick a course each week, and basically you would play in 4 rounds like a regular PGA tournament, and at the end of the thing you would get money based on how well you did or if you won, and they had a leaderboard going for the entire season. You could actually play alongside the pros if it was one of the courses the pros were playing. And there was a course that was on the game, then you could do it that week. And they had a lot of cool features like that. It was really fun. You could get on each week and play online, and it's like you're playing an actual golf tournament. And there wasn't actually money you could win, but you could get prizes and all kinds of other stuff, in-game items and things like that. And really, it was just for kind of recognition. You could win trophies and achievements and things. And they used to have dynamic weather. I remember the one year I think it was Tiger Woods 2008 or 2007. Where they had a link up with the Weather Channel if you were playing online, and so whichever course you were playing at whatever time, they would have real live weather. So let's say you were playing a course like in Orlando, Florida, if you're playing Bay Hill, and at the time, if it was storming down in Florida while you were on the game, didn't matter if you were on at 1 o'clock in the morning or 5 o'clock in the afternoon, if it was raining in Orlando, Florida, it would be raining on you in the game. So that was really cool. Like you could play a course out west or up north where it was snowing and it would snow in the game. They just had a lot of really cool features like that I thought was very interesting. And of course, you can set up, we're playing, it's kind of a nice sunny day here at St. Andrews, but you could set it up so that the wind's gusting at like 50 miles an hour and it's pouring rain and, all kinds of other neat things. And they had Course Creator in the game. You can design your own golf course. They had fantasy courses, which people basically just made these ridiculous courses where you're hitting through like tunnels and caves and hitting over like 400-yard carries of water in Antarctica. Like they're just all kinds of crazy things they did on this game. And adding in the Course Creator was a big thing when they finally did that, because that allowed people in the community to you could make your own golf course and then share it with people in the community if they wanted to play it or if you wanted people to see your work and your design. So just a lot of real neat features they innovated in these golf games, made them really fun to play, and just something I really enjoyed as I was growing up, because it was kind of, when you play a sport, one of the problems is the game, like say I actually played basketball in high school as well, and a little bit in college, but it's like when you go play a basketball game on a video game, it doesn't really feel kind of the same, and that had been a problem with the golf games a lot of times. It just wasn't as enjoyable as playing the actual sport. Well, when the Tiger Woods games came along, they kind of bridged that gap a little bit, even though there's more fantasy in these where you can just pull off these ridiculous miracle shots. It made it so that the game was a lot more enjoyable as if you were playing an actual round of golf. Like, for example, here, I'm 8 under par at St. Andrews. I don't think, if I played at St. Andrews myself personally, I'd probably shoot like 120. So there is that fantasy aspect of it too, where you can get on here and just go brutalize like a really hard golf course in real life. So that's kind of my history, my journey with the Tiger Woods games. And if you're someone who enjoyed these games, you can actually still pick these up usually. I got Tiger Woods 2009. I bought this. It's been a year or two since I bought this game, but it was like $5 at GameStop, and it provides quite a bit of enjoyment if you're just looking to kind of. It can be relaxing too. You just get on here and something different. It's a change of pace. You just go on here and. Of course, the customization options, they got better with every year. You actually, on this one, if you had the Kinect, you can do the game face, where you can basically take a photo with your Kinect and it will try to put that in the game. I haven't actually tried using that because I don't have Kinect with 360. But besides that, there's a ton of great customization options. You can pretty much do anything. I mean, this guy's got a mohawk. There's all kinds of crazy hairstyles. There's all kinds of crazy mustaches and goatees and beards, and you can make your guy huge, like he's big, like a big wrestler. You can make him skinny and fat, whatever you want to do. So it really added a lot of creative content in the fact you could make just the most ridiculous looking golfer, or you can make a guy who looks like a real PGA pro. However you wanted to do it. And then of course you've also got the pro shop. Like with this guy here, I just made this guy kind of to goof around with for this video, but um, you actually can buy golf clubs, you can buy new golf balls, you can buy golf shafts for your club, different color golf gloves, different color clothes, shoes. You unlock different items in the pro shop as you beat certain modes of the game and play against certain computer players. So there's all kinds of different unlocks in the game. I'm using the basic EA Sports equipment here. I don't have anything really that's all that great. And certain clubs that you get in the game will actually allow you to they'll boost your attributes. One of the interesting things they did with Tiger Woods 2009 is they made an attribute system which basically determine your skill level. You start off when you first play and you have to you're out at the driving range actually with Hank Haney, who was at the time Tiger's swing coach, and you have to hit a bunch of shots and kind of hit them in certain areas to judge your accuracy and your power and things. And the game gives you a base set of attributes. And then you basically, as you play the game, you have to hit good shots to improve your attributes. If you hit bad shots, it will lower your attributes. So they actually had a very unique system in this game where how you played each round, how you hit every single shot had a direct effect on your overall ability. And then you could buy, when you got better unlocks in the pro shop, you were able to buy more items that could help you out that made you a better player. So it was kind of a very interesting system that they had in this game. And got 2 more holes to go here. We got a pretty solid score going right now. Don't think I can shoot 59 unless I go 2-2 here, but actually playing pretty well. And this is kind of, I haven't played this game in a long time, so it's good to see I'm not terrible at it. Now here, look at this. This is pretty interesting. You got to hit this right over top of this building. So hopefully I'm not going to hit that, but again, that was the fun thing. You could go and play. And I think I just hit the house. Oh, that's great. Right into the bunker. Hole in one. It's awesome. But it's also interesting to see the evolution of golf games over time. Obviously once, Tiger had his problems and EA dropped him from the game, now they're going to try with Rory McIlroy, which is going to be really interesting to see how that goes. But one of the things I think is really cool is golf has kind of progressed in its its gaming area to where you can now go to places and they have these very large projector screens, and you can buy a special driving range mat which allows you to hit a golf ball into a net. And what it does is when you impact the driving range mat with your club, it takes measurements on your impact angle, your spin, and all kinds of other things, and it produces a result on the computer of how you would hit that shot in real life. So you can now do a virtual reality golf simulator if you go to like a PGA Superstore, or they have them in bars now too, which is pretty cool. So it's very neat. I've actually considered getting one for my house to play, but the problem is I don't have high enough ceilings, and they're also very expensive. They're about $10,000, so it's pretty big chunk of change. But they do make smaller simulator systems. Actually, I've seen one at a store called Golf Galaxy, where they actually have it's a simulator piece. It's actually, you hit a plastic ball or a foam ball is attached to a computer thing, and you play a course on the television. You just have to be able to swing the club in the same room, and it's kind of the same thing. It's just on a smaller scale. But they've made some really cool golf games and some really cool improvements overall to kind of the golfing gaming genre, if so to speak. But again, Tiger Woods gets a lot of credit for a lot of the stuff. He came along and really changed the game, I think for the better, like I said, because it allowed so much more access to so many more people to enjoy it, and it opened it up to a very wide world of all kinds of different people to enjoy the game of golf. And I think these video games, as I've said, were no exception. It's a time you wouldn't think golf games were real popular on console, but and like I said, when Tiger Woods was doing these games, they were some EA Sports better selling titles. So definitely had a big impact on the gaming industry as well. He had a lot of star power at one time. So it's kind of unfortunate what's happened to him. And, like I said, I'm trying not to get into the social commentary aspect of it because I have my own thoughts on it, and I don't really want to. This is about gaming. It's not about social commentary. So we're going to we'll leave it at that. I think it is kind of, in terms of his golf ability, it kind of sucks that he's struggling so mightily now. But, you know, you can't deny the impact that he had on the game overall. So, well, there we go. We got some new records. We got some trophy balls, and you guys see my name there, Snafu Magoo. That's kind of a joke we used to say at the course when you're playing. If you're hitting the ball really far to the left and having problems with the hook, we call it Snafu Magoo. So, just kind of named this guy as kind of a joke. All right, so we got some awards and some other things. That's what I say. You know, you're just playing a regular game of this. You don't even have to be playing in tournament mode or anything. You still get rewards and you get more money to spend at the pro shop. So you see, here's that skill set I was telling you about. How you get your attributes change after every single round you play, which is pretty interesting. So that's going to do it for me, guys. I hope you enjoyed this kind of interesting video today. Like I said, it's British Open week. It's golf major, so I figured do a golf theme this week, especially since these were games I really enjoyed as I was growing up and playing, especially in college and when I played golf. So a lot of fun with these games was had, and hope you guys enjoyed this video. Hope you guys are having a great Friday. Have a couple more videos coming this weekend, doing a few things with Destiny. They've been having some real problems lately, so I'm going to highlight some of that stuff. And probably get back into doing some Mass Effect 3 stuff too. So hope you guys, again, are having a great Friday. Hope you guys have enjoyed the video. And I will see you again next time.